Hello, my name is Robert Browning, and I want to welcome you to my presentation on the individual OD intervention job description. So, job descriptions. Let's talk a little bit about them. Job descriptions can help define the responsibilities, duties, and requirements for a particular job position itself, help people kind of understand what they need to do on the workforce. It can also be considered a statement from the employer to the employee as to what the expectations are. Here's a list of what you're responsible for example. Some features of a job description. They can be containing specific requirements, such as education levels, specific or even general day-to-day responsibilities, and even certifications that are required or need to be maintained. They can also specify what the pay is, maybe the organizational hierarchy, where you sit within the organization, who you report to, etc. How they can be used? Well, they can define a worker's place within an organization, not just as far as hierarchy is concerned, but when we use that mission statement that we're talking about here in a second, it could also help define what they are as far as representing the company. So we want to include those mission statements, and it can provide that impression needed to set a tone within a company. For example, knowing who your customer is and how we expect you to treat your customers, whether you're in a healthcare setting or you're taking care of people at the driver's license office. They can also be used as an advertisement for recruiting purposes. And they can be a little bit shorter for that purpose or just as lengthy depending on exactly what the requirements are. So, some strengths and weaknesses of job descriptions. Well, some strengths. Job descriptions can help ensure that all jobs within an area are assigned and performed to a certain standard. Uh, could be however many widgets need to be done, depending on the steps needed and the expertise needed for each of those steps. We can figure out exactly making sure that all those jobs were filled properly. They can protect employees and employers when they're written properly, making sure that proper supervision is included, making sure that the specific responsibilities are taken care of. That way, if something happens, the employee and the employer are protected. In conjunction with a job design process, they can be very descriptive and obviously letting someone know exactly what they need to do. When they're kept up to date, they can properly encompass what employees need in order to do their job. For example, tools of the job, software, different safety equipment, and the like. They can also help set goals needed for performance evaluations, and this is something that's overlooked a lot of times. If there's a evaluation needed to be done based on merit, then an employee needs to know whether or not they're meeting, exceeding, or not meeting their goals. And that can be spelled out, for example, in a job description. Some weaknesses, they can lead to rigidity and maybe even a sense of contract. Well, it's not my job description, therefore I'm not going to do it. That happens a lot. They may not get regularly updated, and when that's happening, they can lead to a disconnect with the actual job responsibilities, may not be in touch with what really is needing to be done. They obviously, as I said in the strengths, they can get descriptive, but typically if we start putting too much into these job descriptions, they get extremely descriptive, even real wordy and harder to read, and may get confusing. Without review on a regular basis, they may not match with curriculum that's taught in schools from high school through college. And for example, I would have paramedic programs come to me and go, okay, how are our students performing and are they matching up with what we need out in the field? And we can give feedback for that. They're typically written by managers without input from the employees, and this can be a problem. And I'll show you an example of one here in a minute. But these job descriptions need to be where the employee can understand it and make sense for the employee. And when we have these set up properly, they can do a very good job of making sure that the employee is well armed and knows exactly what they need to do so that they can perform their job properly. And then, of course, back to the first weakness, we have that other duties as assigned statement that can go into a job description. And a lot of employees may find that threatening. Well, Mrs. Johnson, I know that it's not your job description to clean toilets, but the toilet in your bathroom over here is extremely filthy. So, as it says at the bottom of your job description, other duties as assigned, I'm going to assign you to clean that bathroom. So we can see where that can be abused. Here's an example of my job description as a Six Flags paramedic, and one thing I wanted to draw out is in the experience row, it says emergency medical technician paramedic, and then an automated external defibrillator certification or license, and then further down it talks about a American Heart Association or accepted equivalent nationally standardized adult infant CPR certification. Well, if you are in touch with your employees and you have your employees help write these and get a little bit better descriptions, we can make it less wordy. Emergency medical technician, paramedic, and American Heart Association or equivalent CPR for healthcare providers course, which encompasses adult, child, and infant, and also encompasses automated external defibrillators. So this is an example of a fairly wordy job description. This is only about a third of my job description. Here's an example of an AMR paramedic advertisement using a small job description, and it's not very wordy. It's got some major things on there that you need to have and some requirements. So with that, I want to thank you for taking the time to view my presentation on job descriptions. I hope that you got something out of this presentation, and thank you very much.